Hey everyone, welcome back for video 12 of the 31 video challenge. Today's video I'm going to be working on an ATC, and I'm starting off with a piece of cardboard from a pancake mix box, cut to 2.5 by 3.5 inches. I'm just going to cover that with some quick dry adhesive, and then taking a scrap of some red pattern paper that I had in my little scrap envelope. I'm just adhering that down. I'm just kind of sliding it around, making sure that it's as even on all sides as it possibly can. And then again, just checking it here, just making any final adjustments, moving some glue out of the way, that kind of thing. And once I've got that all figured out, and I've got it well pressed down and covered, I'm going to go ahead and take my scissors and just trim off any extra paper, just to make sure that it's even all around. This is a really it's like a lightweight chipboard. It's a really great material to use for projects like this. And I actually haven't made an ATC in ages, so this is the first time I've sat down to do one in, gosh, probably a year or two. I want to have some book paper on it, so I have probably 5 copies of Pride and Prejudice, so I use this old copy to tear pages out. So I just kind of flipped through and found a page that seemed to have a little bit more, romantic, love references, that kind of thing, as opposed to some of Elizabeth Bennet's little more sarcastic quips, which are great, but not really practical for the purpose that I wanted to use this for. And then I'm just going to use it at the corner, so I just kind of lined it up there and added some more of that quick dry adhesive and giving it a good press. And once I figured out where I want that to be, I'm just kind of outlining it, and now I'm just tearing it. And again, when you're tearing paper, just to make sure it tears a little bit more straight, it's always best to tear toward you as opposed to away from you. And I've got this little corner here that's sticking up, so I'm just going to add a little glue there just to make sure it's adhered down pretty well before moving on to the next step. The whole theme from this ATC came when I found this old quotes book. I think it's from Die Cuts with a View. I've had it forever, and this one is the love and friendship themed one. And there was this one here that had jumped out at me pretty significantly. It's the one that says Eternity, and so I'm just pulling it out of the book and just kind of eyeballing the size there. And now I'm just taking some tea-dye distress ink. Some vintage photo distress ink, and just going over it with my distressing tool, or my inking tool, just to knock down the color so it's not such a bright white, and to kind of finish off the edges. And then just to size it a little bit more, I'm just going around and tearing the edges, adding some more of that vintage photo distress ink around the Vellum quote. And I'll come back to it and adhere it a little bit later, but in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of rough it up a little bit, scrunch it a little, just to get some creases and some crinkles in there. And then once I get it to what I like, I'm going to go ahead and just brush over it again with that vintage photo distressing. Now I'm taking this stamp set. This is the Girls Paperie stamp set that I've been trying to use a little bit here, and I already went ahead and tried to stamp the clock up in the, you can see it in the corner, but it's a new stamp set, and I was using the vintage photo ink, and it was beating up quite a bit. So what I'm doing is just taking this set of distressing tools that from Basic Gray, and I'm using the file, and I'm just kind of buffing or scruffing up the edges, or the top of the stamps with the little file there. And what it will do is make it so that it's not quite so slick, so that when I use the ink and press it down, you'll see here that you get a much better impression compared to the little clock that you've got there in the opposite corner. So it's off camera, but I'm doing the same thing now with the clock. I'm going to restamp it, but I'm just again scruffing it a little bit first before I do that, and just lining it up, which is pretty easy with a clear stamp. There, just making sure it's even, and you can see how much darker it is now that I've kind of knocked off the shine from the stamps. So it's a good trick if you have a new set of acrylic stamps that aren't stamping very well, especially with a water-based ink, if you're not using like a dye or a pigment ink or a chalk ink. And now I'm going to adhere this down. Vellum shows the adhesive that you're using, and because I will see this entire piece, I decided to cover the entire thing with the adhesive. It actually will give a pretty cool effect as it dries. It will make it look almost like a wax paper. So it's got a really cool effect to it. And then I'm just taking my gold dauber and just going around the edges here just to add a little shine to the edges before I adhere this piece of ribbon or trim. And I'm just attaching that to the bottom there, giving it a good press. And then I'm going to trim off the edges using some scissors. Once I've got those all trimmed up, even with the sides there, I'll just go back over it and re-distress it with that vintage photo. Alright. And now I'm looking for an embellishment for it. I went ahead and took some of these Prima E-line flowers, the hydrangeas, and then I added some magical micas and some mists and things, and made it kind of this burgundy color to match. Layered 3 different sizes, and then added a gold gem in the center. And now I'm taking one of these skeleton leaves from I Am Roses and adhering it there up in the top corner, which is where the flower will be, so it's fine. If the adhesive is right there, it's going to be covered by the flower. And just again adding a little bit more glue and finishing it off. And that basically finishes off the ATC. I hope you like it. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know, and I will see you soon with another video. Bye.